Anyhow,
Uh,
so what is your plan, Sam Clinton? What are you gonna do?
I, I mean, I am really focused on, as far as predator stuff. I really want to focus on, I've gotten a lot of really good feedback, mostly in private, on my focus on female predators. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really underserved and underdiscussed topic. And both from an exposure point of view, as well as from a lot of society that, as I call it, the female pred complex, this really societal wide encouragement, glorification, and blindness to female pedophilia. I think that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people even have problems saying female pedophile. I think
Right.
it's like something breaks in the mind, and I see a lot of people wearing these shirts now. It's like the cool thing to do, make pedophiles afraid again. Well, here, great, make pedophiles afraid again. Here's a picture of Brittany Zamora smiling in prison. Here's a picture of Peyton Shires smiling in jail. Here's a picture of uh, uh, all these female predators. One from Texas, like just smiling, like they don't seem afraid at all. And so if
Yeah. Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
make pedophiles afraid again, and let's start with first the pedophiles that are literally laughing and smiling on their way to jail, on their mugshot, on their way to prison for their sex offender photos, because they don't seem like they're afraid at all. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that if you're a male pedophile and you're going to prison, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be smiling. So they already may be afraid to go to prison, whereas a lot of these female pedophiles almost seem
It
like
happens a lot.
joyous. It's like funny to them.
Yeah, and I mean,
Funny.
what we are kind of fighting up against is culture, right? It's like sexism, right? I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's it. It's a cultural issue around how we perceive like sexuality between men and women, um, and like power dynamics, right? And so the concept of the female pedophile, right,
Yeah,
somehow being less harmful
sure.
when violating a young boy, right? It's like it's all the same shit, but in our adult minds, in so many adult minds, it's so convoluted because of the way that we've set up our systems and our ways of thinking to be like, oh well, good for Scotty, you got to
Yeah.
fucking do.
Well,
I'm
good
like, no, dude,
for
it's the brain of a 14-year-old boy is actually much less developed than the brain of a 14-year-old girl. Boys develop slower. They do. That's like proven, right?
right.
So
And so you take the victim side of it, and we do know that the damaging effects, whether known or not known, and here's one of the things I know that people, it's an unknown unknown. You like to, you previously brought up to me, like, 90 for, the statistics show. Well, here's what the statistics don't show. They don't show how
yeah,
many female pedophiles there are if most of the male victims do not feel empowered to report the crime, right? If
yeah,
there's no
yeah, yeah,
reporting
yeah,
victim, and I will tell you, in case after case, almost daily
yeah,
now. And I want to
yeah.
thank you. I want to thank not the people that I get literally every day. I wake up and I go through. People send me stories every day of female predators, and I appreciate those that send me the articles. I pick which ones I think are pretty good, and pretty good in that they're very
Yeah,
topical.
that's
And
what we're talking about, Gila. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
um,
Sorry.
the so thank you for everybody that sends me those links to articles and cases and stuff. But you look at like the adult aspect of it. For many of these male predators that we see get caught in these stings, their options for having adult sex for most of them is pretty low. Let's be honest. They're, not something to, they're pretty, I don't want to say low hanging fruit, but it's like they're 50 years old, fat, bald. No adult woman would want to speak with them, and no child should
Okay.
ever have to be around them. Right.
All right.
So their options, if they go to their local bar, okay, for most of the predators that I see get caught, their options, if they show up to the local bar, are pretty slim. Not just because they're predators, but because they probably haven't talked to a woman in years. For female pedophiles, they literally could go to a local bar and have sex with anything that they wanted to. They could go and have sex with every 20-year-old in the bar if they wanted to. But they molest 14 and 15-year-olds and 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Young,
Yeah.
I just posted an article today of a female pedophile who had molested a number of victims. Just the tip of the iceberg, the detective said. She molested a 12-year-old. He screamed, "Stop, I don't want to." And she continued. And then she called him the next day and wanted him to apologize to her. That's the mentality.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
And I
weird.
mean,
And hold on,
I could be wrong, but I think most of what I see when it comes to the female pedophile stuff, it or maybe this is a skewed my skewed perspective, but it's a lot of teachers, man.
Well, that's
It's a
just
lot of teachers.
the teachers are only getting exposure. It's your suburban house mom. The lady today I
Yeah.
posted, she was having sex with her 12, 13-year-old son's friends. The whole teacher idea gets a lot of exposure because, my God, it's a teacher. But and it's really hard to keep a molestation case of a student with a school environment from circulating around the school given social media. But believe me, the more
Oh yeah.
hidden cases are the soccer moms, the hockey moms, women going through problems with their marriage and feeling dissatisfied, and so they decide to be
Yeah.
go molest a child. I mean, those are the more hidden cases. I think people make a big, we blow these news articles up of teachers particularly, but it is generally speaking, psychiatrist Maria Duarte, um, sees a 15-year-old girl outside of her hotel, says, "Come back and hang out with me in my room, 15-year-old girl. I'm trusting. I'm a woman. Come back into my room. Come hang out with me." Brings her in, molests her, brings other men in to molest her, and boom, she wasn't a teacher at all. It's just the acquisition of victims for female pedophiles seems so much because of this perception that hormonal young kids, boys, are at the ready to do anything at any time.
Yeah.
Boom, a woman could pick these people up, or the woman today or yesterday, the kid was a 14-year-old runaway. No idea of how she found him. Did she just circle the road, see a kid outside, and pick him up in her car? Come trust with me. Gave him weed, gave him alcohol, molest him. Right?
Yep.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, totally creepy stuff. And this idea that men are the only creeps. No. Women and men are totally creepy. Totally creepy. And it's just, you know,
Yeah, man.
well, no, yeah, no, yeah, Christy's right. I mean,
We're not. I mean,
I'm not picking on.
no, that's what I said. I'm not targeting teachers, and I understand teachers are mandated reporters, and if they're doing their jobs correctly by reporting on what they're mandated to report, they save a hell of a lot of kids from abuse,
Yeah,
not just
absolutely.
sexual abuse, but
Oh
other
yeah, and
abuse.
that's the other problem. Like, most
Yeah.
teachers are great. Most teachers are amazing, hardworking,
Oh
passionate
yeah.
about their work. Um, and then 20% of them, 30% of them, 10% of them, 5% of them are creepy pedophiles, including a bunch of women in there. And
Yeah.
I think that essentially you have this stranger danger mentality when it comes to men, as you should. Don't trust anybody. But the guard is let down. I mean, parents are letting their kids go hang out with teachers, talk to them after school, talk to them online, have unfettered access to kids.
Yeah.
Women seem to have unfettered access to their non-relational kids. And I don't
Yeah.
understand. I really don't
I
understand.
mean,
Why are we
I
giving,
think
why are,
a lot of yeah, I mean, I can't speak for why parents would do that or why they wouldn't, but Matt did a story on this, a panel a couple of weeks ago. And I'd supplied him with some information um pertaining directly to and I know it's like not what happens in the real world, but like for any public school system in this country, 90% of them have a policy that, you know, might be called different things here and there, but it's like a staff student interaction policy. And it talks about it. I know it talks about like how you can engage with students, when you can, how you can, when you can't, when you shouldn't, when you never should. So I mean the policies exist. But if you violate a policy, it's not necessarily a crime,
I
right?
am telling you that, and
Yeah.
we can get on the teachers unions, and I know what side you'll come down on it, but the teachers unions are so protective of try to get a teacher fired. Try to get a teacher fired for showing up drunk to work for 30 days. Try to get a teacher fired for
Oh, it's
molesting a
impossible,
kid.
dude. No,
Much
it's
less,
impossible. Yeah.
much less because she violated a policy or he violated a policy.
Yeah.
Every
That's what
single
I'm
case.
saying. I'm saying we're saying the same thing. Yeah.
No, but listen, every single case of teacher student sexual abuse I have seen, authority administrators had absolute knowledge of it prior to, and they fucking ignored it or made a joke out of it.
Yeah.
That this
Yeah.
teacher wore low cut, she dressed very inappropriately. She talked to the kids after school. She hung up with it. She showed up at parties for high school kids were at. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
almost a joke. They're picking up the schools, picking up the kids after school and taking them out. I mean, and you have administrators who have absolute knowledge of all of this. And I don't think is it a product of like the teachers unions and it's hard to be an administrator in a school, or like why do I see feckless leadership in American public schools? It's feckless leadership. Like if I get wind that a teacher is
Well,
with a student
yeah.
outside of schools, I'm putting her on paid leave and take it up with the school board. Take it up with your teachers union, like immediately, like done one time. We're talking about years of accusations of inappropriate communications with dozens and dozens of students that's being reported to administrators, and they don't do anything about it. I don't
No, they
understand.
don't, because I mean, it's not even it will become a litigious issue, but to actually like you said, like if you could have a teacher that shows up fucking drunk, doesn't show up, is like, has reports of being inappropriate with kids. Like you have to document all of these things in a particular way to actually, eventually have some kind of action to be taken. But, school administrators are incredibly fucking pressed for time, and you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to be the school principal that's like, calling out teachers because
You don't want
the
to be
union's going
like,
to come against you,
yeah,
right?
you don't want to be
It's
the
it's
school
it's it's
teacher
not
like
about
the principal
it's
of,
not about kids. People are
yeah,
not thinking about the children.
I know.
That's the issue.
And here's
That's the issue.
here's the sad thing, and Christy's alluding
It's
to it.
disgusting. It's disgusting, man. I
You
mean,
turn
I
all
mean,
these you
you know,
turn all the good non-predatory teachers that actually give a shit about a kid and
yeah,
their life,
yeah,
the wholeness of their life, that you
yeah,
turn them into drone operators that they have to deal with, kids in a way that, no, just very cold and distant, and no, you cannot
yeah,
communicate with me this way. No, you cannot do this on this. No, you create 80% of the teachers that are acting like drones and are cold to kids because that's the policy by the book.
yeah,
And then you have 20% of teachers that fucking, it's just like the gun. I'm sorry. It's just like the gun laws. The gun laws only are followed by the people that aren't going to commit a crime with a gun, And I don't understand why leftists are insistent upon gun control and more gun laws when it's like the only people following the gun laws are the people that are not going to commit crimes with a gun. It's just like the teachers. The non-pedophile teachers are the only ones that are going to follow the handbook on how to deal with teacher-student interactions. And they're probably going to be the ones that are not going to be predatory, but do something, not by the book to try to save a kid's life or get him out of a terrible family environment or report something. And then they get the book thrown after them while Ms. Zamora is talking to 30 kids online of her students after hours and showing up their house at 2 a.m. to pick them up on the weekend. It's just
bizarre. I mean, we live in this world of litigation, right? Liability, and so.
Well, no, but that's the other thing, though. Here's what male victims and their families are not understanding. Like, being sexually abused is going to be costly for the rest of your life, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to think you're a victim or not. Having an adult molest you, whether you want to put it in the back of your mind and just tell yourself that it was okay, tell yourself that you weren't the victim, tell yourself that you wanted it, just repress it. That's the whole thing. They're repressing it. They're very, very, very difficult for particularly a male, but all sexual abuse survivors to understand.
No, I mean, I agree. It's lifelong trauma. Even if you are like, you deal with it, but so many don't deal with it. And that makes it like, I don't know if it's better or worse, whatever, but it kills you in a different way. Right.
But it's also like society wasn't there for me like society, like the government wasn't there. Prosecutors, the police weren't there for me. Like when my cry out for help, nobody was there for me. If male victims would empower themselves more, it's like, no, you have to tell us what's going on and for us to know that there's crime going on. And for most male victims, they're repressed. They talk about it. And that's why these statistics are so skewed. 95% of sex offenders are men, 5% are women. That is only because
that's only because that's the data that we know.
Correct.
Right.
That's only how about the unknown? How many male victims? How many male victims were abused, whether by a woman or a man? Because let's I don't want to. People sometimes miss the fact that, I'm talking male victims. I focus on female pedophiles, but I also male victims, whether it's a man or a woman. And here's the other aspect of this: the male, the male pedophile who's abusing a boy, right? And I believe that is a, tremendously complex for male victims, that they're scared that if they say anything, they'll be thought of as gay. And they don't want to.
You add that layer on it. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
you add that complexity, and whether people like it or not, I think that there's an added. I believe that we should be sentencing people to prison for long times. Starting with the ones that are underreported and undersentenced pedophiles. But there's an added layer of punishment. I think that if you are a homosexual act against a child, is fucks a brain up all that much more. And
because you can't even at a young age, you can't even wrap your head around that other piece, right? The second piece of like but it was a man, right? And it's like, well, what? I mean, you probably just focused on the actual physical act, but then you're like, but if people find out, then there's this whole other level to it. Yeah, man. Yeah.
But for like, Christy was saying, like what happened to her, and how long it takes for people to talk about it, and believe me, particularly for for men that were victimized as kids, but
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, all sexual abuse victims tend to
Yeah.
underreport or don't report. But there
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
many, many millions of
Yeah.
men that were sexually abused, many times by women, that went never reported, ever
Yep.
reported.
Yep.
They held it
Yep.
to their grave. And again, that goes across the board. But I think the disproportionate amount of men that were
How
abused.
old? How old? Do you mind saying how old you were, Sam?
Yeah, I was 5. Um,
Okay, really
I was
young, really young. Yeah. Yeah.
very young, but I
Yeah.
also look at, I was, and I think that people miss a little bit of that, but I don't like to talk about the particulars of it because I think
That's okay. That's okay.
it,
Well, I mean, I
but
mean,
but I was very, very young. I'm not.
yeah.
I think that also downplays the fact that it's really weird how people talk about this. Like, when I have had conversations with men who were victims, when they were like 14, 15, 16 or so, and
Mhm.
it was a woman
Yeah.
and they mentioned that, they almost feel like there's such a struggle I can see in there that was it wrong? Like, I still am mixed about it. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, so my case is like everybody could agree, like a 5-year-old being molested is a very young time, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. But
Yeah.
how much more would change if it was a 15-year-old? I think that obviously there's age segments and developmental segments, and child developmentals. You know probably
Yes.
more about this.
Yes.
We
Yes.
talked
Yes.
about it
Yes.
before. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, was it different to be molested at 5 than 15? Hell yeah. Was
Yeah.
it
No, I
a
mean,
fifth?
and that's, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, like, I think what people. I mean, we were all children at one point in time, right? And we all have like formative experiences where like you remember the first time you went to Disneyland, you remember the first time you probably had fucking ice cream, or the first time you went to the beach, or the first time whatever it is. It's like the young brain is like so malleable, and it's just taking in all kinds of information and data
Yeah.
to be processed at a later point in time. I mean, people can remember shit when they were like 1 year old, 2 years old, right? You remember these things. And so when this type of trauma happens to a young boy or a young girl, especially at a younger age, it like basically becomes part of your DNA,
Yeah.
your brain, right? Your brain mapping, your mind map, right? Um, and it's heavy, dude. It's heavy. It's heavy.
Well, no, and I think that again, yes, as the younger in age that you're abused, the impact is more and more devastating for sure. But I also look at you know a lot of people that in their young teen years that were uh, abused, but society again is because it's one thing, like I come out and say, I'm 5, almost universally. I was a boy. I was molested. Oh yeah, you really what? You were 16 and your teacher molested you. Oh yeah. Oh, that's like the reaction. No, I was 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Almost everyone can agree. Whoa, yeah, you were a victim. But why is
Yeah.
it as you increase the age with male victims, it becomes like a little smirking? Like it shouldn't.
Well, that's
Uh,
that's
you
that's
know,
that's what I was talking about earlier. It's like this is now you're pushing against the cultural narrative around males, right? Around young males, around boys versus girls, right? And our the bias, the stereotypes, the just the twisted way that we've like set things up, right? To where if it is a teenage boy, right, with an adult female, like unfortunately, like people see it in a very different way as if it were like a teenage female and a 40-year-old teacher
yeah.
male, right? It's like it's the same fucking thing, but our brains are wired to think about it differently. But it does the same thing to the child.
Well, I will
You
tell
know?
you this. and this is not to say that like the most concerning, and this is just a real talk as far as you look at victimhood, and I do believe that you have a course that you could take once you become, a victim, once you are victimized as a child. And I do feel, probably statistics would show it, I know you're a man of data, that there's a higher proportion of sexual abuse victims that themselves become predators and pedophiles.
Right.
There is the support. And I do have concerns for a lot of this cultural masculinity that wants to hide and wants to just repress male victims at 14, 15, 16 years old. Repress it.
Yeah.
Repress
Yep.
it. Guess what? They're going to be 25. They're going to be 35. They're going to be 45. And as they develop their sexual experiences, where do they go with how they understand what was done to them, what happened to them? Are they just going to chalk it up as their sexual development? Are they going to think it's appropriate to then turn around and have sex themselves with a 15-year-old because they did it and they repressed it, or they didn't feel like they were victims? I have great concerns about all these people that are trolls, and they're, like you said, like they try to get a rise of your chat. One thing I've learned is people know people know when they realize, I know that people will, where were these teachers when I was young? Women can't be pedophiles. People are just trying to get a rise out of me, right? And
yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's pretty disgusting that they're taking on the throne of pedophile promotion to troll me. But it's a reality that I have to deal with. If, in fact, in my comments, when I post these female predator videos and comments, a lot of people are the female predator complexes in there. I don't respond. I don't get back to them, but I do sort of let their comment be out there for all to see. But I do wish that women particularly would shed some light on this issue, from the modern feminist movement to, we've got Me Too, we've got, historical sexual abuse that women have been perpetrated against women. And I understand the complexities come in. I will say though, FCC, I would like to see more of a, not like just more of a lot of ladies in the community support what I do. I know that they're very, very open to hearing what I have to say without calling me a misogynist, but some of them do call me a misogynist. I think that it was a huge deal when I said, let's go catch a couple female pedophiles. And, people immediately labeled me as a woman-hating misogynist to catch a pedophile. And I just don't we never, would we ever, I know people have accused Jonathan Robbins of, getting on people for going on Grindr, but would we ever get on people be predators? He catches only men, gay men on only men on, with a male victim. Does anyone ever really hey, why did I get called a misogynist? And why did my, wanting to shed light on female pedophilia and to catch female predators, why was that so visceral for people? I still can't get over that.
I wouldn't even call it like, I think you're giving it too much credit when you call it visceral, because visceral implies that there's like a deep-seated kind of intention behind the reaction. And I just think, people in this community are, it's like, we got a shit ton of like frontal lobe people, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you might be over
I'm diving into it, but
analyzing it,
Well, but if PvP, for instance, wants to catch all men on Grindr, I don't care. Good for him. He's protecting the gay youth. Go for it. I don't have a problem with it at all, in the slightest. If you want to slap on Grindr and do it, the fact that I said get on Tinder and be on the Tinder heterosexual app and be a male decoy, that turned into misogyny. That turned into that I'm ruining catching and all of that stuff. And I'm reading Christy's stuff here, but
Yeah.
Christy, I think we all feel for you.
Yep.
I feel for. I think we all do. This is. The fact that this is where I'm very comfortable with, and people can try to character assassinate me, and people have tried to character assassinate me for months and months and months. And I guess the reason why I'm so resilient is people know what I have done in my personal life and my private life, and people know the victims that are in this community when they've reached out to me, and the people that are outside this community. I've done a number of things for real victims in confronting their own abusers that I don't really talk about that much. And I could post this that probably would go viral and get millions of views, but it's the wishes of the victim and what they want. And it's at some point, it becomes, for all of these predator catchers that own their catches, how about you go on a catch where you don't own the content? You give the power of the content to the victim. And how do they want to do it, right? So I have turned over the power of the content.
Interesting.
And it's only for the victim's own use. And, I think that it's important. Now, again, I really only help. I only get involved if someone has tried. They're adults, obviously, that were victimized as children, and they've reported it to the police or law enforcement, and there was really no action for a period of time. So there is, for those that say, well, we need the exposure and everything, at that point, it's for closure, not exposure. It's for closure.
Right.
And, I know that people have given PHI a hard time for when she exposed her predator, and she chose not to put the person on film, and she chose to keep it to herself. There's a lot you can criticize PHI for. That wasn't one of them. And I feel as though she got to control that interaction the way she wanted to control it. And that's her content, and that's for her use however she wants to use it. And
it's her choice. It's her choice. That's right. Yeah.
But Christy said, well, Christy, who knows? Maybe maybe no apologies is going to have to get a lineup change. I don't know. You're great, Christy. Christy is a very,
She's great. She's great. We love Christy.
She's a fabulous person. And even though
Christy's always welcome here. She's part of the FCC family.
Yeah, and even like she's one person in this community that can publicly criticize me, and it doesn't really bother me because, I trust her judgment, I trust her take, and she's a fabulous person. And
same here.
Cat Eyes in the same way. They're both, women of this community that can publicly chastise me and turn on me, and it's something where I know where they're coming from because they're just great people. And
you're not gonna like think what are their intentions here? Well, their intentions are to call you out, to give you feedback, right?
Yeah, and they're I know that they're tough, both of them, both Christy and Cat Eyes.
Yeah.
And I know they're not doing it to go along to get along, right? They're not doing it to survive the mayhem. They're two strong women that have survived the chaos. They're not like most of the male pussies in this place that are scared of their own shadow, which is most of the men in this place, to be honest. But they're great. And
you talking about me?
No. You're far from you're a loser, but I don't think you're a pussy.
Loser of the week.
You're a loser, definitely. But
we both are.
But I wouldn't put you in the pussy column. I think
we both are. We're both losers.
Yeah. You're the current loser though. I'm a former loser. All right. You did like the biggest landslide, and the poll results were like 75.
I didn't see it. People hate me, dude. People just, I don't know why they hate me, but they hate me. That's fine.
Well,
I love
and
to be
here,
hated.
I hate to go two peas in a pod, but I understand. Not necessarily I agree with. I understand what you were trying to say with this whole
About what? About what?
well about the arguments that you were putting forward as far as you're not 100% convinced about Edward. I
Oh
understood
yeah, yeah, yeah,
what you were saying.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I, whether I agree with that or not, I think it's up to Edward to provide further information. But I understood what you had to say, and I don't think that the idea that they think that they've got you on the run. That's again the character assassination around here. And
yeah.
I don't,
I mean,
I have a different take on a couple different things. We probably disagree, a good amount, but at the same time, uh, I've come to learn what this place is all about.
this
And,
chat is becoming a fucking love fest. Look at this, dude. I love you. I
yeah,
love you.
and here's
I love
Constantine.
you.
When's the memorial for Mark gonna happen, Constantine? It was supposed to happen
I
a week.
love you more. What the fuck is going on here?
Constantine, when's the canceled? When are you gonna run
Yeah, yeah, right.
Mark memorial stream? It's
That was
been
a dox.
heavily promoted by, huh?
That was a dox.
Who I doxed?
You doxed me out, man. Come on.
Oh, well, as
You're
you
gonna
know,
dox it. You're gonna
I'm
dox a
now
dead man? Come on.
I'm now known as. I mean, hey, the people around here can probably fit that. Tommy Boy Studios can come and say that I purposely doxed a dead man to harm his family. Absolutely, he could leave that in for sure. I would expect nothing less.
Video incoming.
Yeah, I mean,
Holy shit.
it's just everyone knows what happened was not malicious a few, weeks ago, and I'm not going to relitigate it. I laid it out, but they use it to try to sully and assassinate my character, and it happens routinely. And people have a preconceived notions, whatever, and you know, um, I make an error. I clear it up with the person that I made the error with, and it was a mistake, and the victim, I guess you could say. And that was the end of it. And it turns into a community Karen doxing an innocent person's name while hiding the face of a pedophile just to character assassinate me, right? Just to get at me. It was all taken care of, over. It was done and over with. But just to fuck with me and to drive by media, if I've ever seen it, is the community Karen known as the Panel Channel. Just
Oh
decided
god,
to
they're the worst. They're the
assassinate
worst.
character
Oh.
by doxing an innocent person's name, right? At the same time, hiding a pedophile's face. And I think it's exact, while also calling out everyone that doesn't get in line with how she thinks. And I still encourage her to use the term female pedophile. I'm still kind of waiting for her to say, can she say female pedophile? She's
Yeah.
kind of, after hearing her voice and hearing her community Karenhood. I have
Oh,
my doubts.
she's definitely a Karen. She's definitely a Karen.
I have my doubts.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it used to be the panel channel used to be fun and cool, whatever. And then she started getting in chats, and then she was on panels, and I'm like, you're clearly, I don't even know what the bias is, but like you are not objective. And so, as a source of information, your credibility is fucking shot, right? If you want to be objective, right?
yeah.
But like getting involved in like the name calling and the trolling and shit, I'm like, it's fine, go for it. But you essentially killed your brand,
But I mean, you
Um,
killed your
that's
brand.
fine.
It was more important for her to assassinate my character with
Mhm.
misinformation and not the whole story than to expose a pedophile's picture. And I thought that that's all her channel was about, was, you know, with Ed. She was like a
Yeah.
workhorse on the Ed thing for a year to get that stuff out there. And
Yeah.
and then she decides to cover up the face of a pedophile. And then when she's told, hey, if she didn't know, which I don't believe, but she didn't know that was a pedophile, Jessica Lawson, unhide it and repost the video. No, because either she has a problem with admitting, you know, the fact that it is a female pedophile or what, but I don't know. Cool to Cap, who I don't compliment very much. He put up a pretty cool skateboarding video. I think was pretty good.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
Um, and honestly, I think Cap is a who is that?
What does that mean? Does that mean anything?
Probably. I'm not going to say, but it's okay. You can.
Yeah.
You know, I am surprised. Like Cap spent so much time dragging Ed, and then when he kind of was with all this came out, Cap should be running victory laps, and he really hasn't. You know, as far as
I
how
think
much
he's just fucking living his fucking life, dude. You know?
well, I think that's a good thing actually. If he's not
Yeah.
around, it probably means that he's got more important stuff to deal with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think. I mean, so this
you got to give Cap as
you remind me of fucking Jupiter. You will not shut your fucking mouth, dude.
Juniper.
Do you smoke the same? Jupiter? Do you smoke the same kind of weed that she smokes?
Jupiter.
Juniper.
All right, Juniper.
Yeah. Anyhow, what I was gonna say is, I think this conversation around male victims, right? And whether the pred is a male or a female is very interesting to me because I have boys. I have boys in this range, right?
Oh, you have kids? I thought you didn't have any kids. I thought you were
yeah,
soulless,
kids,
lifeless, single man with one leg and one hand living in your neighbor's hot tub. I didn't actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I have kids. I have kids. And you know, you try and do everything that you can do to kind of, you know, do X, Y, and Z. And it's hard, you know, but I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is to have a good, solid, and this would be something that, like, you know, Tommy Boy Studios knows nothing about because he doesn't even have a wife, he doesn't have kids, he doesn't know. So maybe he could learn something from this, is to have a good, open, trusting relationship with your kids so that when something does happen, regardless of what it is, right? Worst case scenario, you know, somebody hurt them sexually, right? But really anything that they can come and talk to you as a parent, right? So I can imagine kids talk about young boys that have the kind of father that is unapproachable, right? Or maybe not even there. And just like not having anybody to like reach out to and talk to, um, is, I mean, that's some real shit right there, man.
Well,
You know, that's tough. It's tough.
Here's the thing. In my mind, the height of masculinity, the finest father that if I could award him a medal of honor or something, I would. If you want to look what a father is like, if you want to look what a man is like, look no further than the Brittany Zamora case of a father that went to bat for his kid. And this beautiful pedophile woman that molested his kid, his son, he didn't incel, cuck down, whatever, try to get laid, take her to the bar, make it okay, get a blowjob from her. This man went to bat for his fucking son. And he fucking was ruthless to this pedophile woman. And then, okay, and he's a fucking father. If I've ever seen a man and a father, that dude was awesome. And I encourage anyone to go listen to the recording. Just type in Google or whatever, Brittany Zamora father recording, and it is unbelievable. If you want to learn how to be a father and a man, go listen to that man when Brittany Zamora basically tried to exchange a sexual favor to get this case to just fly away because she was a woman, and that's what this is what she's going to offer. Go listen to Brittany Zamora father recording when he talks to this pedophile woman, this beautiful pedophile woman on the phone, and said, no.
Here, I put the link to an article about this that has the recording in the chat if people want to check it out.
Not today. Not today, bitch. Not today, pedo.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're going to make pedophiles afraid again. We're going to not make female pedophiles a joke again. We're going to start with you. And he did. Fucking awesome. Then you go to the case of the Haley Clifton Carmack case. Haley Clifton Carmack case, where the father totally cucks and lets this woman molest his kid, and he doesn't do anything. He knows that his kid's being molested by this beautiful female pedophile, and he fucking just lets it happen like nothing. Lies for the woman pedophile, right? He probably got something out of it, but a total shell of a father and a man, a joke of a man. And that man is facing criminal charges, thank God. First time, Riley, in history that they've charged a parent with child endangerment and child neglect for covering up the son being molested. And so you look at those, look at those two different cases of how to be a father. And so I encourage you very much. And as you know, and as you flaunt everywhere, I am not a father, but for all of the fathers out there,
facts.
You want two different cases. One on how to be a fucking hero, a man. Look at Brittany Zamora victim's father talking to her on the phone and how he handled that case. And then you look at the cuck, despicable, limp dick idiot who's now probably going to go to prison himself. Probably this limp dick father is going to go to prison longer than Haley Carmack, what I say her name was, Haley Carmack, Clifton Carmack. This dude is probably going to go to prison longer than the pedo woman that abused his son because he chose to be a fucking joke, pedo protector, simp, idiot. And so, that's what I would say. And now, but here's the delicacy. You've got to be delicate. You got to go to bat for your kids, but at the same time, you got to take the complexities of the situation. You do not want to further harm someone, as far as like, you got to make your child realize that this is wrong. This is not okay. Society may tell you to say, okay, your friends are giving you high fives. It's not okay. I'm going to draw the line in the sand. And son, here is why it's wrong. Let me tell you why it's wrong. Let me, provide you with example after example of the damaging effects. This is not a joke. You should be, if you want to experiment and do things, you should do it with kids your own age. You should not be thinking it's okay for a woman to manipulate, connive, and molest you. And and then you walk them through it. And then you go to bat like a father, like all these fathers say that they're going to go to bat for their little girl. You go to bat for your little boy just as hard at a pedophile and make female pedophiles afraid for the first time because they've never been afraid before because they're all laughing in their photos. They're all smiling. They got makeup on. They got jewelry on in state prison.
They're all very, and they're all very, and they're all incredibly manipulative.
Yeah, I mean, if you look
I think in a way that male predators aren't. It's crazy, man. Some of the stories that you brought forward, and watching video here and there.
Well,
The
I
fucking
mean, they're super
psycho.
fucking smart. I mean, every single, no picking on the predator catchers, but you got these dudes that, couldn't get laid at their local bar, and they're coming up. Well, those my phone. Here's my phone. Here, here. Let me show you the CP that I have on my phone. Let me admit to doing all this stuff. And then then a woman, she exchanges 30,000 text messages with one of her with a boy, like a 13. Police show up. Nope, I don't have my phone. It got run over. She had destroyed her device before police got there. And then now we have some questions for you. Nope, I want an attorney. Boom, right away. Like, she was the most, like, talk about smartest, manipulative, right on it. And that's what we know about female pedophiles. They are incredibly intelligent when it comes to this. And I think that this genre of predator catching misses, and particularly the not just predator catching, both law enforcement and private citizens. Women are not female pedophiles have their victims intact. They have their victims in person. Society just shoves kids at them. Shoves kids at them. Where you have this trusting environment where they didn't earn it just by being a woman. Here, you can take my son after school. Here, you can tutor him alone. Oh, you want to hang out him over the weekend? Here he is. Here he is. Deliver him up. Deliver him up. Why the fuck is society delivering up their kids? And it's okay to hang out with adults, but they are. And
Well, again, I mean, again, here, I think this is like where we kind of had conflict maybe a year ago on this subject. Is like I'm a parent of young teenagers and children that are moving into their teenage years, right? And they go to a big school, they have friends, their friends come over here, our kids go to their friends' homes, right? We know their parents, we've kind of built out a network, we know who these people are. But you're right, you actually never really know.
well, no, and that's
Which
that.
is
But here's the thing. That makes it all the more hard for the victim. You need to have these conversations. And again, I'm not a father, but I think I would make a great father. I mean, it's probably a pretty damn hard job. I'm not going to downplay it, but you need to have the conversations.
it's
Hey,
really fucking hard, dude.
I,
Yeah.
I I trust these people, but don't you, son, daughter, for a minute think that you can't come to me with something inappropriate about any one of these folks. I don't care if it's a preach, coach, a mom, a dad of our best friend. We have them over at dinner every weekend, and they maybe think, if there's something going on, I want to know about it. And I'll handle it in a very, very, protecting you way, son, daughter. But I want to know about it. And don't for a second think that our friendship or our respect for this priest or coach, that all is out the door the minute you tell me something inappropriate. And then, but you have a lot of these, but see, a lot of times kids do say something. It's like, oh, that priest would never do it. He's such a great guy. That dynamic coach, he's a great guy. My best friend, a lot of times it's, I think, a lot of times it's completely fucked up situations and scenarios where you have, parents that don't listen to their kids, and because it's not like the 60-year-old dude sitting at in a boardwalk, smoking a cigarette. I mean, you're going to have to confront 25, 35-year-old, your best friend. And Tommy has spoken about this before. I mean, his situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Terrible.
we've identified this as well. The fact that the kinds of like predators that are exposed in like this realm. I'm not talking about like the CP people that Alex catches, right? That's a different thing. But in general, like the the kinds of people that are picked up in pred catching are like strangers to the children, right? They don't know who these kids are, or these so-called kids.
Yeah.
And that makes up a very small like
8%,
sliver
8,
of crimes against children, right? Most of
8,
it happens in family and
92,
trusted circles. Yeah.
92%. So in
Right.
92% of the cases, we're missing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying for the private citizens out doing this. I'm saying for the police stings too. They miss the 92% of cases that are done by people that your children personally know, or
Exactly.
by
Yeah.
other children too. 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 15-year-old hurts a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, 10-year-old,
Yeah.
or do inappropriate things of age, at the same age. So anyway, you got on this conversation because you, sir, asked me what I wanted to do. And that's kind of what I'm going to focus on.